What's up, everybody? It's your favorite Rawhide's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the Studio Series Ironhide. This is all known to me from Chris Pinkerton, If You're Nasty, co-host of Nerd Rage Radio, who is a self-proclaimed chug thug. Chug thug. And is even bold enough to put them behind Detolf glass. Sacrilege, I dare say. But it actually is one of the few examples where the furniture becomes more valuable than the assets within them. Sick burn. Anyway, we're going to talk about this guy. It's not hateful, but in order to do so, we're going to look at accessories, which are namely these two guns, and they are on a black plastic sprue and then painted silver for the actual kind of weapon itself. Nice enough job. And he'll hold them just fine. The guns can also both be stored underneath the van on those pegs there. You can also store them underneath the front bumper on the same type of peg system so that you can drive forward and shoot at you, I guess. So we'll get in tight on the head sculpt for Dennis, and it actually is a pretty good head sculpt of Ironhide. I've seen some wonky ones over the years. So the head is on a ball peg. The ball peg actually is on a hinge in there as well. Using both, you can get the head slightly up, a good bit down, left, right swivel, little bit of a confused look, not much. Fair. Face is painted silver, eyes are painted blue. Let's back out, brush them. So we have the translucent blue. Because of that, we get red and silver paint for the chest plate, which does make it pop a bit. Nice touch. And then we have shoulders. Shoulders will get you out to 90 degrees. It's nice that the joint continues through. It's not just on a pin. Like to see it. And then, whoa. And then you swivel all the way around. You also get a bicep swivel, a single hinged elbow that gets you 90 degrees, relatively hollow forearms underneath, and a wrist swivel. For the waist, you get waist swivel, and I guess a reverse ab crunch, but not really. Any other paint details? The hands are painted because it's red plastic, probably because of a sprue choice, but they are painted. Let's back out, take a look at the whole figure. We have hip skirts. They're all connected to the pelvis, which is a little weird, but it's not the first time we've ever seen it, right? It just looks cheap. Forward and back to there. Third party's done this as well. Nobody's exempt. And so that's a full Monty and the full Van Damme. Thigh swivel. We got some hollow bits in there. The reason why is because this is one piece of plastic. In order for this not to be hollow, you'd have to do two pieces of plastic, and it would be an expense. So knees are on a single hinge that gets you 90 degrees. Once again, we have translucent windows, so once again, we get paint added to it. It might be worth the translucent in the long run. And then we have some sculpted detail, but that's about it. And then we have ankles. So the ankles do drop down to get you an ankle tilt up. It's ridiculous, but it works. An ankle tilt down, and then a pretty good rocker. So fair and square. There he is from the back. Proportion-wise, he kind of has those childish proportions that I talked about. Not all the Hasbro figures do, but he does, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. Hopefully, I know some people have a hard time grasping what I mean by that, but hopefully you'll get it in this next little look. Size comparison wise, there he is with the Legacy drag strip. Hopefully this shows you of what I mean. Probably won't. Some people just don't want to see it or don't see it. But it has to do with the leg length. It also has to do with how much of the shins occupy the legs, and then thusly how far down the hands sit on the leg itself. It ends up just making it look like schoolyard kids that just need their lunchbox in order to get to school on time. But there he is with the size comparison. Slightly taller, you know, which is interesting. Comes up to about his chest. He's about a head taller. All right, let's get him transformed. So, open up this chest here and pull the roof out, and you can tuck the head in. The roof sits up on top. Rotate this around. This piece here is the kind of front bumper that can stay independent while you rotate the rest of the kind of upper body around so that it'll sit and sort of make sense. All of that's relatively intuitive because it needs to look like a van, right? Rotate the hands in, and then the arms around, and these need to peg in with one another. So hand in, arms around, and connect. I said the connect. Now we need to deal with this. It's actually a little bit more nuanced than it may appear, or that you may expect. You have to fold this panel out and this panel out, and then you have to kind of rotate the thighs, knees, etc. and get the shoulders up and out of the way if you need to, in order for it to align properly, for it to kind of form up the sides here. I'm gonna move this out of the way. I got something I forgot to do in there anyway. Same on this side. Right. And then you can peg in those side panels. These pieces have to come around and tab in. And then on this piece, you have to fold down these sections, which I forgot to do. And then tab those in underneath. And I think that's it. Then lastly, raise these up here. And you need to unfurl all of this on both sides. And these pieces will come up and over. There's a tab that goes into there. Voila. And then rotate this down and tab that in. And then same on this side. And rotate that down. I'll clean it up. We'll take a look at it. And there it is. It works nice enough. It rolls. You have the translucent windows. The L1 and L2 pieces are a little bit more obvious, as are the R1, or actually both of those just see R2, don't they? Bloody R2D2, you know what I mean? The one thing I don't like about this, in terms of the alt mode, is that this piece uses 3 types of reds. There's 2 types of red plastics, and then there's a red painted piece. So it's 3 shades of red. Better than bloody 50, am I right? But it's very distracting for me. Like here's 1, 2, and 3. The silver paint down here looks good. That's nice. And the shape is okay. I feel like this is a little off here, but it's not the biggest deal in the world. That would definitely be nitpicking. And the bumper's painted silver. And this piece right here is not painted, like the rear window, which is a bummer also. I was also going to see, can you store these weapons up? You can. So I didn't mention this in the beginning, but you can store the weapons up top too. I thought it was just underneath. So cool. Other than that, there he is next to Tiger Tracks. So sizable unit. Final thoughts wise, we'll start with the negatives. The big one for me is the kind of childlike proportions. I don't like when they look this way. I know it doesn't bother some people, and that's cool. All the better for you, but it does bother me. I don't like how the pelvis is all one piece, and when you manipulate the pelvis flap, all of it sort of comes with. I don't like the connection from the torso to the waist. It's not the best, and as you saw in the review, it has a tendency to kind of come undone like Duran Duran. The feet, as well as the biceps, are a slightly different shade of red than the rest of the figure, and end up throwing that off visually for me. And I feel like there was one other thing I wanted to talk about in regard to the robot element. Oh, just a few hollow parts in the inner thighs and also under the forearms. Not the biggest deal in the world, but it is a criticism. And then, you know, real quick, once again, the alt mode, other than the stuff we've addressed regarding the colors and such, the L1, L2, and R2s on the windows is a little bit of a distraction, and the fact that the rear window is not painted or decoed at all is a bit of a bummer as well. I do have some positives to say about this figure. Due to the use of translucent plastics, you actually get a fair amount of paint on the guy, which is interesting and nice to see. I also like the breakup between color of the kind of light gray versus dark gray. I like how the joints are sculpted through in the shoulders. I think it's a good face sculpt. Most of the articulation is present and there and works pretty well. And you get the appropriate accessories for it being a 86 Ironhide. That's a nice little touch. And the build is decent. I mean, you should know what the build is going to be, right? They pretty much have a very consistent build, but this is no different. I do want to point out also that for the transformation, it has a little bit of kind of technique to it and technicality to it, and I think I described it as nuanced during the actual review. It's not just like a paint by numbers Hasbro approach to engineering. It's like, it's a little bit more sophisticated, not a ton and not challenging, but just enough to kind of keep your attention, and I dig that as well. So if you're in for like the chug scale chug line, I think it's a decent enough Ironhide. I think that you'll be happy with it. Just a couple issues that I've pointed out, and then if they bother you, then they'll bother you, and if they don't, then you should be fine. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.